I think it's important that women do what they can within their own community, form communities or join communities that already exist. And they don't have to be just for women, but I think that women need to be strong. They need to have a sense of their authentic selves and, again, feel the fear and do it anyway.
Hello, welcome to Women Awakening. I'm your host, Cynthia James, and I'm so grateful that every week I get to introduce you to another fabulous woman, a woman who has said yes to her life, her passion, and is not only doing it for herself, but she's sharing it with other people so that they get the idea and the inspiration that they too can live a life of passion. So I want you to know that we're on all of the platforms, including YouTube video. Please subscribe and share the video with people, especially women you know who are ready to take a leap and may not know how. I promise you, you will be inspired. You can also go to cynthiajames.net. That's my website. I have a private community you can sign up for and a monthly newsletter, and I don't spam anybody. And I'm just so grateful that I get to be with you. So I have a new guest that I want to introduce you to today. Her name is Diane Hartman. She's a retired school librarian, a photographer, a dog rescuer, a mother, a grandmother, and a lover of Ireland. She has received honors for her writing from Midwest Writers Workshop, Daisy Petals, Women's Writing Award, and the Griffith Writing Fellowship at the Mary Anderson Center. And her photography has garnered several awards, including the Indiana Governor's Award. She is an alumnus of Laura Munson's Haven Writing Workshops and Retreats. And we are going to introduce you to her new book, her first book, Getting Lost on My Way, Self-Discovery on Ireland's Back Roads. All right, welcome, Diane. I'm so happy to see you.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
I'm going to start by asking you to tell us where and how you grew up. Some people have the misconception that people just step into success without having a life. So, and we are not all born with, gold spoons in our mouth. So how did you grow up and where did you grow up?
I grew up in Lafayette, Indiana, and I did not have a particularly happy childhood, mainly because my father suffered from severe depression. And so one of the highlights of my childhood, I guess, would be his death in April 1964. He took his own life and left my mother with 4 kids, ages 8 through 16. I was 10 years old at the time. And so that experiencing that trauma and, of course, at the stigma of suicide, not knowing what to do about it, because back in those days, there wasn't a lot of help for that. So I was still struggling with that in my adult years and struggling with my own low-key depression, not anything major like what my father had. And so that ended up determining some of the choices I made, which were not the best choices, such as getting married at age 19. And discovering pretty, especially after having 2 beautiful daughters, knowing that marriage was not savable. Everything I tried did not work. I was the only one working at the marriage. And so after 22 years of marriage, I divorced. I was still working as a library media specialist at an elementary school library, which I loved. And it was at that time that I decided that I wanted to travel to Ireland, and we can get into more of that later. And I went on to write about it.
Well, first of all, I just want to honor that experience. A lot of us who have had trauma in our childhood have gone on to be teachers and writers and healers and things. So I think I don't want to wish what happened to you or me on anybody else, but it does become fodder for the ways in which we show up and write and share. So,
Exactly.
so where did writing start?
Writing started, I wrote essays and things on the side while I was still working, but I didn't really work at trying to publish anything. When I made the decision to travel to Ireland, I knew that I was going to write about it. I had no idea that I was going to write a book about it. So I kept a journal for each of the 4 trips I made between 2003, 2009. And I made myself write in those journals, every day, whether I felt like it or not. And it was those journals then that were the primary source, really, for writing, for what became the book. It was going to be a book of essays at the beginning, and it wasn't until I went to the Haven Writing Retreats and met my mentor that I was able to see that it was not a book of essays, it was a memoir, and that I needed to dig deeper into that. And as Laura Munson, my mentor, told me, you need to go deeper. And so at that time, by that time, I had retired. I had the time to work on it. I was just so tired when I was working as a school library media specialist at writing in the evenings. I just didn't have any energy left. So I started writing after my retirement and working on it and polishing it. And, it's been years in the making.
Well, but you finished it. This is great.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit for those people. When I was reading your bio and things, it talked about the fact that you're an introvert. I want to know what it was like traveling through Ireland by yourself as an introvert. How did you manage that?
Well, first of all, you have to really want to do it. And I did. I just had a passion for Ireland, for its Celtic culture and traditional music. I'm a photographer, an amateur photographer. I'm not professional, but I've studied photography for a long time. And I knew that that would be a wonderful place to do photography as well. And I just sensed, and I don't know how, it was just an inner knowing that Ireland was the best place for me to go for a journey of self-discovery. It felt like my spiritual home.
And was it part of your healing and your mental health?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, I wasn't conscious of all of this at the time it was happening, but I knew that I was experiencing something very special. There was a lot of synchronicity involved with the travels, in meeting new people, being introduced to people who would go on to help me, both here in the States and in Ireland. And I just felt like, I was really on a mission of self-discovery, and this journey was very important, and I needed to do it, whether I felt fearful or not.
Yeah. Well, and listen, I think I tell my clients, if you're not afraid, it's too little because
Yeah.
you're being asked to step into the unknown. And so I would love for you to tell me about this book. And I know it took you a while to write it, but what made you want to just complete it and publish it?
Well, I felt that my journey would resonate with people. And I still feel that there are women, especially, who are looking for their authentic selves, who are interested in self-discovery. And I knew that it was important that I write about it. It felt like, again, a mission that I was supposed to do. Now, as far as ever seeing it fully as a book, that came later, after I went to the Haven Writing Retreats with Laura Munson. But again, it was just important for me to get this out. And I can't really explain it because I have other ideas for books, but nothing like this one in terms of feeling like it was my destiny to write this.
Yeah. So in your title, it talks about self-discovery. What did you discover about yourself?
Oh, so many things. I discovered that I should feel the fear and do it anyway, especially when it came to driving in Ireland. I had several rather humorous stories in the book about me driving, not driving the correct way on a roundabout, going the wrong way, and a man yelling at me, "Woman, you're going the wrong way," and just getting lost in the foothills of the Brendan Mountains and being rescued by a handsome milk delivery man. Uh, so there are just all kinds of challenges that of going over there that I felt I needed to overcome and to get outside myself, outside my comfort zone, and see what discoveries were there for me.
Right. Well, it sounded like bravery. You discovered bravery and courage.
I hear that a lot, and yet I don't see myself as being brave or courageous at all. It was something that I really wanted to do and felt that I had to do it.
I hear you. But driving in Ireland by yourself, going to places you've never been before, and meeting people as an introvert, I don't know, that feels courageous to me.
Yeah, it takes a lot of energy.
Absolutely.
And so you have to allow downtime when you're traveling like that, just to kind of rest and recover.
Amen. Well, so here's the thing. You're a photographer. Now, you were writing in the journal. Were you taking a lot of photos while you were traveling?
Yes, absolutely. I've taken so many photos, and many of them have been entered into photo competitions and have won awards. I've had some exhibitions with those photos as well, mainly regionally here in the Indiana area. And so, yeah, it was very important. And what I'm in the process of doing right now is part of this whole journey is learning how to do things on social media too. And I'm trying to learn the ins and outs of Instagram. And what I have a project where I'm going to start posting one photo every day with a little caption as to what it's about. And it's going to correspond to the 4 parts in my book, which correspond to the 4 journeys that I made to Ireland.
That's beautiful. Well, and I would just encourage you to explore TikTok because they love photographs and they love videos. And so maybe there's a whole channel that you can have about your journey.
Yeah, that's a possibility.
I love that. So I want to talk about, you're an educator and you're a librarian. That's a very quiet kind of, I'm going to call it insular life. I mean, it's very, going into libraries, which I'm so sorry people don't do as much as they used to. But that was a quiet space for you, right? What made you want to do it? Wasn't quiet?
No, that's a common misconception. When you're in an elementary school library, you are not quiet. And I didn't want my library to be quiet, and unless I was actually teaching a lesson and it was necessary to have their full attention. But I encouraged them to talk with one another, to offer suggestions for reading for each other, and then to after they had checked out their books, if I wasn't doing another lesson with them, to just sit at tables and talk with one another about their books. And so it really wasn't quiet. I always had some background music playing in there that was hopefully calming.
Right.
Not always.
Not
always, especially with the kindergartners. That wasn't always the case. But no, I loved working with children and instilling the love of reading with them. And it was not a quiet place.
Well, and did you go to school to be a librarian?
Yes, I did. I actually got a bachelor's degree in secondary education in English, and then I went on to get my master's degree in library science and information services after that. And then that gave me the credentials to be a school librarian, because I'm both an educator and a librarian.
Right. Well, people aren't reading as much. I mean, when I was growing up, my family was like, get a book. I mean, read, right?
Mhm.
So what kind of thoughts do you have on the importance of reading and growing through reading?
Oh gosh, I can't express how important that is. And I don't think that it's a dying breed by any stretch of the imagination. I was always hearing that kids would rather read ebooks rather than the physical books. And at least in my situation, that was not the case. I even purchased ebooks and encouraged them to read those. They didn't want to. They wanted the actual book.
They can handle it.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was important to them. And I still see, especially with my own grandchildren, who definitely are on their screen time,
Yes.
but they also are readers and love having the book with them, love having an adult or a brother or sister read to them.
Mm.
Even my sixth graders, when I was teaching, loved to have me read to them.
Oh.
And, I think we underestimate that and we say, oh, reading's dead. Libraries not, they aren't as important as they used to be. I can tell you my standpoint from the public library standpoint, my public library is so busy all the time. Now, whether people are sitting and reading books or not, I can't attest to that, but I know that there is activity going on in throughout the entire library, both the children's section and in the adult section. I think adults are really relying on public libraries for many things.
Well, I'm so glad that you said that, I mean, because, I work with a lot of leaders in my clientele, and they talk about not having time to get to the libraries like they did when they were kids. So they do ebooks or they do Audible, but it's very important for them to be connected to the written word. It's very connected. So
Yeah.
I want to know, how do people find you and your book? Your book is Getting Lost on My Way, Self-Discovery on Ireland's Back Roads. How do people find you and how do they find your book?
Well, they could go to my website, DianeHartmanAuthor.com. That's
Okay.
DianeHartmanAuthor.com.
Beautiful.
On my website, there are also links to all of my social media, including Facebook, Instagram, and Substack. And all of my book signings and upcoming activities will also be on the website as well.
Beautiful. Well, it's very wonderful that you're doing this and you're stepping out. Ladies who are listening, this is really important. Love that she said, feel the fear and do it anyway. So I ask the same last question of all of my guests. This show is called Women Awakening. I want to know what you think is the most important thing about women awakening on the planet today.
Oh, it's so relevant in so many situations, but I think women are definitely ready to awaken. I think many of them are a long way along that journey toward awakening and self-discovery. I think our current government situation is trying to take us back at basically 100 years in many respects. And I think it's important that women do what they can within their own community, form communities or join communities that already exist. And they don't have to be just for women, but I think that women need to be strong. They need to have a sense of their authentic selves and, again, feel the fear and do it anyway. And working in these community groups, especially, I know with my own writing community, with the Haven Writers Retreat community, they have been so instrumental in my growth in so many ways. Not only my publishing journey, but even, having more self-confidence and feeling the fear, of course, of this whole publishing journey and doing it anyway. And I think women, especially, are at a pivotal time now where they need to get in touch with themselves, awaken to whatever they are passionate about, and go ahead and do it anyway.
Well, I'm so glad you said that. It's just beautiful. I want you to know that I loved what you just said. And there are forces, not just in our country, but all around the world that are trying to take women back
Right.
to a time where they didn't have voice and they didn't have power and they weren't allowed to stand in their truth. And so I love that you spoke that. I love that you wrote the book. And I'm very grateful that you came to spend time with me today.
Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed it.
All right, ladies, I end this show the same way with different words. I guess what I want to say to you is that there is something in you that wants to emerge because we're evolutionary beings. So that could be a book, that could be photography, that could be art, that could be a lot of different things. But I think what Diane said is important, connecting to community, like-minded people that can see you and encourage you and support you. That's what we're here to do, to honor each other and lift each other and nurture each other. I'm so grateful to have had this time with you. I love you, and I'll see you on the next show.